You are the senior litigating partner of one of the largest, most respected law firms in the world. You are a legend.
I'm an accomplice!
You are a manic depressive.
I am Shiva, the god of death.
Hey, you people out there in Radioland.
Radioland murders?
Radioland murders.
Hey!
Yeah, retrospective. Hey. They're so weird. If you, like, as I did all this research on Star Wars way back in the day, you can find, like, documents Lucas is signing where he's making deals with, like, Fox about what, like, his pictures are going to be. And, like, it's literally like he signs a deal to do Star Wars and this film called The Radioland Murders.
It's a fun movie.
It's like all these documents that are like, yeah, he's selling these treatments. And it's like, one of them will change the industry forever. And the other no one remembers. And will take, like, 2 decades to get made.
And you used to be able to make, like, a living off just, like, selling treatments and unmade scripts. And now it's, like, notorious that, like, at least for right now, in the year 2022, when we were recording the Waffle Press Retrospective Failed Award Contenders with your host, Diego Crespo and Matt Garingo, it is difficult to sell just spec scripts. Original ideas are really hard to sell unless you're in television. And even then, it's still difficult.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's, you know, the whole industry is in a fucking rut right now. But... You know, the shift will come. It'll be weird.
It'll be weird and different, like, and I'm not negative about it. It's just uncertainty. There's plenty to be negative about. Let me reiterate that. There's plenty to be negative about. I just think it'll pan out. Like right now, another thing that people are talking about. I promise we will get into Michael Clayton, which we are here to talk about. But another thing people are talking about is that so much went into production pre-COVID that still is like barely getting made. That there's just like a backlog of shit. Once we're through that backlog and like the barriers start coming down, I think things will get better in a couple years creatively. Because not only do I see the tide turning on what films are a little popular right now, I just think tastes change as time goes on.
How did the Batman do?
The Batman did incredible, but it is Batman.
Yeah, but like
I'm not concerned about that.
I will say, like, I'm not totally concerned, but there's a part of me that's like, is the Batman going to have like a huge second week drop off? Because I don't know. I think it's a very I don't want to hold the fucking Batman up as like this rebel of cinema or some shit, but it a lot of it feels in like direct opposition to what we've come to expect from blockbusters in a good way. And I wonder how audiences are going to take to that. Because it doesn't really feel like it's lighting the world on fire in the way that something like The Dark Knight did, you know? Mm-hmm. But it's interesting. And then, like, the sad thing is, I have Spider-Man No Way Home in, like, the back of my head, you know? Mm-hmm. Which did become, like, massive. And it's like, are all movies just going to be that now?
Well, you know, we're not knocking Spider-Man No Way Home down a peg.
Which neither of us have seen yet.
That one is the best, like, box office wise since COVID happened. It hit like 150 million opening weekend or some crazy shit. Mm-hmm. The Batman is like right underneath that at like 135 or something. And that one, I think the reaction is gonna give it like because people are at least giving like a bold reaction if they didn't like it. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, you know, like another one. But those tend to be people that are like I've seen criticisms about that movie that are just fucking ridiculous about like, well, you know, they're just standing in rooms all the time. And it's like, well, no.
Man, they're going to hate the movie we're talking about today.
Oh, yeah. But I think normal people are responding very positively to the movie, where it's not just like, oh, yeah, Batman's back. I think people are like there's even discourse on Twitter about, like, from the Marvel fan accounts. Have you seen this? Where it's not just that like DC is like doing another movie, mm-hmm. like some Marvel GIF account, like they post GIFs from all the Marvel stuff, and they were praising the Batman, and they were like, "Why doesn't our stuff look like this? Why doesn't our stuff get this kind of acclaim?" And like having a real like come to Jesus moment about like, "Hey, are we?"
I hope that will happen at some point. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the problem, I think, that, like, kind of fucked the DCEU, was that, like, you can definitely feel a push to make all of those films kind of fit into the aesthetic Zack Snyder established, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was an aesthetic that like turned people off. And at the same time, it would just be like an alternate slop to the Marvel slop, you know? I'm not even blaming Zack Snyder for that. I'm just saying, like, it was getting weird when, like, you know, Wonder Woman and fucking Superman look the same. And, like, I don't think those two movies should look the same. Which, and, you know, that was my whole thing where I got irrationally angry about how little Gotham and Metropolis looked different in BVS.
No, I think that's a valid point, especially for like what that movie's going for. A movie I still like and defend.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was all right. You know, that's my take, is that it's all right.
Tony Gilroy's Batman.
I know.
I don't know. He's a good writer and he's a good director.
He is. And it's weird that, like, this is kind of like the movie he made, you know?
You don't like The Bourne Legacy?
No, but I don't like the Bourne movies. I'm like that one guy. Like,
okay.
I've never gotten into them.
I think the direction is far better than the writing. Not that the writing's like hackneyed or anything like that. I think they're very fascinating artifacts of like films that came out during the peak of the War on Terror.
Yeah.
And it wasn't Middle Eastern people bad. Like the whole movie is about like, oh, like the government.
Well, it's crazy that
the
they were
US.
so big, and then it was like the surveillance state is bad, and then everyone's like, you know what we need?
Yeah.
More surveillance state.
Yeah. And so I find them fascinating with that, and I really think the action, even in the last one they did with Matt Damon, which is like so disappointing even for a fan of these, like the action is really, really well done. I really like the way Paul Greengrass cuts in that. And I like the way Tony Gilroy directed his entry in the series, which is an otherwise misfire of a movie.
Yeah, I just haven't seen it. Like, I think I saw half of it on TV once.
I mean, it deflates. There's like no third act. It like just ends. Michael Clayton does not end, and I don't know why we're not talking about it in full yet. The 2007
well, there's
picture
a lot. We're talking
starring George Clooney. You can go ahead. That's all I wanted to say.
Go watch Michael Clayton. That's the only thing I want to get out there. If you haven't seen it, you're a fucking maniac. Go watch it. But because right before we started recording, Diego and I, we talked about Star Wars, of course, for 20 minutes because we're both pathetic people. But then we started talking about... we ended up on how 2007 was an incredibly strange year for film. And kind of like this weird, like, peak. I don't want to say peak because that's a little depressing, but, like... it was one of those years where there's just an insanely good number of movies that are like fantastic. And then I was comparing that to the highest grossing films of 2007, which a lot of them are like notorious in one way or another, you know? And I'm not saying, I think Notorious, I said bad, but that was probably wrong. Notorious is probably more accurate. Like Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, which like that movie's pushing 3 hours, right? Like
it's a long one.
It's a long
like 2.5.
one. I remember people just being like, whatever you say about that movie now, but to say that movie's good now is an insane thing. Thankfully, no one says it. But
it's because it's great.
It's because it's one of the just most boringest films ever made. But I just remember people. It was like it has a $300 million budget. And it feels bloated, you know? It's like the beginning of like these bloated blockbusters coming out. We have Harry Potter Order of the Phoenix, which I contend is a very bad movie. I don't know why people defended David Yates for so fucking long. Why was that, Diego? Explain to me.
I don't know. I admire stuff in Order of the Phoenix.
Like what?
I think
what?
It drops the ball.
Like what?
I think visually...
Like what?
He
like
still,
what?
He still
like
had
what?
an eye
like
for the
what?
cinematic. I think of the chase scene in the Ministry of Magic, which I'm surprised. I haven't said the Ministry of Magic out loud. I haven't said that title in like a decade out loud.
You know, Harry Potter does have a problem though, where like when you start saying shit in Harry Potter out loud, you're like, wait a minute.
you're like, hang on. I remember this being more clever. But no, I think that movie's got like stuff going for it.
Remember when
it drops the ball on every fucking like dramatic moment, though.
Remember how like building an army of children in that movie is portrayed like it's the fucking Breakfast Club?
I think it's okay for a starting point. I think, and this is a problem with J.K. Rowling's writing too, is it never interrogates it, which is not a problem with Michael Clayton.
Well, no. Order of the Phoenix ends with like child armies are good actually, but but I don't know. David Yates, all that shit looks like so flat and washed out to me. Like,
I super disagree with his Harry Potter work. I think his Harry Potter work is like fantastic, especially.
There's scenes where the special effects take over and they kind of look all right, but
no, Half-Blood Prince is one of the best looking blockbusters ever. Now, his Fantastic Beasts work is awful, and I've only seen the first film, mind you. That is an awful looking film that I kind of enjoyed, and I will never watch the sequels. So
wasn't Half-Blood Prince though like the one where like they took 6 months to like totally redo the look of that movie?
I actually don't know. It is shot by Bruno Del Bonell, who is like a god to me. He's like top 5 cinematographers for me. So I don't know. I don't know what the deal was.
But anyway, Order of the Phoenix sucks. Spider-Man 3, which no one has any strong opinions on. That's a movie. That's the beginning of nerd culture just getting shit wrong. Because I think we could both agree Spider-Man 3 is an incredibly lopsided movie.
Yeah, it's very messy.
It's a messy film. But a bunch of people came out and that was like, why does he dance?
Yeah, and not, hey, why is the pacing weird?
Yeah.
Or like it's fucking Ain't It Cool News and shit that were like, oh, he's crying all the time. And it's like, look, that movie's got problems, but there's like emotional drama.
You know what's
to
weird?
It.
I remember like one of the harbingers of like the terrible shift in like how we discuss art is unfortunately the angry video game nerd. Where it's like everything kind of became angry nerd like criticism. But I remember him being like the one guy out there like defending Spider-Man 3. Yeah, he always defends interesting movies. And he did this one, he released a video that was like a giant fuck you to like people criticizing Spider-Man 3, where he talked about Batman Begins and he started like nitpicking it to death. And like he started like going, I don't know why this happens. Why is this in there? Why is this there? And then he's like, you might think I hate this film, and he's like, no, I don't. I actually saw it twice. I'm just pointing out a bunch of nitpicks, kind of like how you idiots nitpick Spider-Man 3. Like, I so vividly remember that. Like,
oh, that rocks.
Interesting moment. Shrek the Third, which is like, I think people have mixed opinions on the Shrek franchise looking back, but no one seems to like Shrek 3 at all.
Yeah.
And it just totally... I remember that was like so bad, like people were like, don't even go see that. Like,
yeah, I've heard that from like normal family members, because Shrek 2 especially was just like such a hit with families.
Yeah.
That it was like, oh my god, we love Shrek now. Like Shrek was a popular icon. Now he's a meme, which is fine. Like it's part of culture, but like it was just such a popular thing for families, which is so insane. And then Shrek the Third just like killed that dead. Yeah. To the point where like Shrek the Fourth, I think, was like a bomb even.
Yeah, I think kind of, but because they were always talking about doing a fifth one, but I think Third actually bombed so hard, like underperformed, that they were like, let's end it with 4, and then 4 didn't do amazing.
Yeah.
But do you remember, like, I think there was talk briefly that Shrek the Third was almost like a PG-13 movie. Do you remember this?
No. What?
Yeah.
No.
Because I think they totally miscalculated, because Shrek 2 has like some very raunchy and adult humor in it, and I think the original miscalculation was like, we got to go further with Shrek the Third.
Oh, no.
And that's like, no. Like, if you go even further than that, it just becomes mean and awful. Transformers in there as the 5th highest grossing film. The movie Roger Ebert gave 3 stars.
Yeah, he's right.
No, we got to stop this. I'm sorry. I'm about to fucking blow this place up. Like, it's like no more. Like, it was cute for a little bit to be like Bayhem, but like, no, come on now.
I like the first Transformers.
Tony Scott's right there, man. Like,
oh yeah.
And
Deja Vu was like the year before that, huh?
Yeah. And
it's like everyone rewatch Deja Vu. That's a fucking masterpiece.
And what's great about fucking Tony Scott is like, he's like, I'm gonna do fucking Vertigo, but make it an action movie. And it's like, all right, man, fine. And then Michael Bay just like has fucking contempt for his own audience.
Yeah, but here, let's keep going through the weird blockbusters of 2007. Cause
If anyone defends fucking Transformers again, I'm fucking pulling out a gun. I swear to fucking God.
Just stay off Twitter for a while.
Listen, you.
You start tweeting out, "Don't come to school tomorrow."
Oh God.
You immediately get taken in by the FBI.
Yeah. It's like I haven't been in high school in fucking a decade, but hey. Oh no. Ratatouille.
That's a good movie. Yeah.
That's a good movie. I Am Legend. Are you one of these people that defends I Am Legend?
No.
Okay.
But I have a weird thing about that too, because the movie I think is fine. Will Smith is great in it, but like I love the Richard Matheson book I Am Legend.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
I've just never.
How has no one gotten it right?
I don't know. And now they're doing a fucking sequel to that movie.
Yeah.
Like, God bless Will Smith and Michael B. Jordan, two of our best actors today. What is that?
I know.
What is that?
I'm telling you, it's going to be I Am Legends. Like, that'll be the title.
We Are Legend. Watch. That's my guess. We Are Legend.
Oh, no.
Totally fucking missing the point of the fucking... Whatever.
All right, but I just want to say, I think I Am Legend's kind of important in the middle of all this. Like, we talk about some of these movies affecting, like, aesthetic or, like, criticism of movies. I Am Legend, I think, is, like, a very prominent example of just fucking changing the ending because audiences didn't like it, you know? And, like, completely destroying the entire point of your fucking movie. Like, which is wild. And it's something that keeps happening. The Simpsons movie is in there in the middle, which is kind of nuts to think the Simpsons movie made $500 million.
I don't know. What do you feel about that movie?
It's fine.
I really like it. I think it's super underrated.
I like it, but it's one of these things where, like, I don't know, it's this, like, Homer's, like, already done worse to the town of Springfield.
There's part of that, too.
Marge has left him, like, twice by the time that movie came out. So when Marge, like, leaves him in the movie, it's, like, not that big a deal. You know? But
I guess.
I'll say this,
yeah.
like, I think the emotional core of the movie doesn't totally work, but I think it's very funny.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry to go to bat for the Simpsons movie at the start of this, Michael Clayton retrospective.
Yeah.
I really love that movie. I think it is one of the high marks of, like, American comedies of the last 30 years.
Okay.
Like, I will fucking die on the hill of the Simpsons.
You might have to
movie.
do a fucking episode explaining that, because, like, I like it, but I wouldn't go
I fucking...
far.
You know, I'll leave it at that for now. I fucking love the Simpsons movie, and I think it's the last truly great, like, Simpsons thing ever.
I think actually that's I think a point a lot of people had now where kind of like everyone thought the Simpsons movie was going to lead to like this resurgence in the Simpsons and like maybe it was going to get their shit together, and then that just didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's my ultimate point. Maybe that's all I need to say is that I'm cool with the Simpsons ending like right after that movie. Like it was such a fitting finale in my opinion. But who knows? Whatever. It's going to go on for another 50 years.
National Treasure, Book of Secrets.
I like Nick Cage.
Remember the Book of Secrets?
I do.
What do you think of the National Treasure films?
They played on like Disney Channel, and I think that's like fitting. That's not a criticism even.
Yeah.
I don't think they're very good, but like I don't know, for like baby's first Indiana Jones, you could do way fucking worse.
Yeah, like and like
I
to make
don't know. They're harmless in my opinion.
To make them like American mythology centric, you know?
Yeah.
Like they're cute. It's you know what's weird though? It's like both those movies made like a shit ton of money, right? And then Disney just has done nothing with it since then.
Oh no, they're doing all the shit they do for Disney Plus now.
Yeah,
so
but
they're rebooting it.
No.
Without
I
Nick
know
Cage.
that now that they're doing like they're gonna do some fucking thing on Disney Plus because everything's going on Disney Plus. But that's because Disney Plus is like this weird like just do anything right now because we have to have content. It doesn't even matter if it's fucking good. But it's weird that there's such a gap where it's like, this movie did so well, like, why was there nothing? And I remember someone, it might have been Bob Iger, gave an interview where he was like, yeah, we could never really figure out how to integrate National Treasure into the theme parks, so we didn't think it was worth it to keep, like, investing in.
God, everyone fucking... All these adults, like, that are in the industry worship Bob Iger for being some sort of genius. He's really
I don't know
not.
if he said... I don't want to say it was definitely him. I just remember an executive said it. So
Okay.
It might not have been him.
It sounds like something he'd say.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't a smart producer. He just bought everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the other thing where, like, Disney, and this is before Bob Iger even completely took over, where, like, they got the exclusive Ghibli rights for so long. And it's like, that should have been a cash cow, but because Ghibli was like, we don't want toys made from our films, they just, like, that's why all those movies got, like, incredibly limited releases. Mm-hmm. You know, they were like, well, we can't put them in the theme parks, we can't sell toys, like, why even bother? And it's like, what the fuck, dude? Like, you have the Japanese Walt Disney, man, like... Ugh. And then 300 at the very end of this list.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's favorite Zack Snyder film.
Yeah. Whenever I think of 300, and this isn't fair to the movie, like, but all I can see in my head is when they, like, the Comic-Con, I think it might have been this year, because, yeah, I was paying attention to Comic-Con that year, because that was when, like, the Iron Man trailer dropped, and the Dark Knight trailer. Like, it was, like, two, like, huge events were going on, and they did, like, a thing for the DVD release of 300, and they got, like, a bunch of bros into, like, a football stadium, and, like, gave them, like, cardboard cutout shields and spears, and they did the, like, chanting they do in that movie. And I just see it in my head to this day.
Yeah, I've said it before. That 300 is, like, maybe my least favorite Zack Snyder movie.
Hey, now. Well,
yeah.
You know,
I've, like, turned on him as a director. I'm interested in him.
Do you remember when people used 300
no.
as an example of, like, clearly Zack Snyder is a satirical genius?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
Because it's like, well, clearly, like, all the racism is, like, it's satirical.
Yeah, sorry, guys. I good luck with that.
I think history has just proven that to be inaccurate.
Good luck defending that one.
But it's just weird because it's like these movies I think are all kind of like weird harbingers of what's about to happen to the industry. Mm-hmm. But then on the other side of it, it's 2007. It's like the second to last year of the Bush administration. Everyone knows the economy is about to fall apart, but we don't know when. And a bunch of people are trying to act like it won't fall apart. Mm-hmm. And then we get movies like There Will Be Blood, No Country for Old Men, fucking The Assassination of Jesse James, which is a fucking great movie. I don't feel like that gets talked about enough either.
No, it doesn't. It's a masterpiece, though. For anyone that hasn't seen it, like, it just is.
Zodiac, which I remember Zodiac because it was like a big deal because Zodiac bombed pretty hard. And it came out against Wild Hogs, and Wild Hogs, like, beat it. And people were like, what the fuck is going on here? And they never figured out because they did Wild Hogs 2, and then that bombed.
They did Wild Hogs 2?
Yeah, didn't they?
Are you sure?
I could have sworn they did a Wild Hogs
I know they
2.
talked about it for, like, ever, and then I don't think they did.
Let me check.
Yeah, hang on. I'm checking, too. Canceled
Oh, the guy
sequel.
who made Wild Hogs did Old Dogs. That's what happened.
Oh, okay.
And that was kind of like the
Dogs?
spiritual successor. I don't even fucking know. All I remember was that it bombed.
Okay.
And by bombed, I mean it made $96 million on a $35 million budget.
Yeah, but then he would go on to direct Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Oh, hey, fucking cinema was saved.
Yeah, that dog's just too fucking big in that movie.
Man, what are we gonna do about that fucking big dog?
I think Clifford should have been a horror film.
I mean...
Like Cujo on steroids. Cujo for the superhero generation.
Why not?
Yeah, it's like the Joker, but with a dog.
Remember that Banana Splits movie where the Banana Splits were evil?
I do. I never saw it, but I do remember it.
Now, there's a weird artifact, Five Nights at Freddy's. Anyway, Gone Baby Gone was also that year. It's like the beginning of, like, people started to take Ben Affleck seriously again.
Oh, yeah.
Which will also, like, have an unfortunate arc to it.
No.
And then, like, right in the middle of this, we get Michael Clayton, which is a movie that, like, got good reviews. It was nominated for Oscars. It won one. And then, like, I don't feel like it's talked about a ton these days.
It sort of trends on Twitter once in a while when everyone's like, hey, how fucking good was Michael Clayton? Because that's really what we're here to talk about. How fucking good Michael Clayton is.
Yeah.
Like, look on Letterboxd, like the average rating from people like I follow are like 5 stars.
The only thing I could maybe say that like why it's not talked about a ton is that it really is the type of movie we don't see that much, where it's like a really solid script, not like a revolutionary script, but a really solid one, done like super effectively, but it's not like the most show-offy film on the planet, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's not like when I say something like No Country for Old Men or like There Will Be Blood, you can see like people go like, well, there's the PTA thing and there's the Coen Brothers thing, right? And maybe it's just that Tony Gilroy doesn't have like a huge filmography to compare it to, but there's only, I would say, like a couple of scenes in this where like it would get quote unquote show offy, you know?
Yeah.
Of like really drawing attention to the fact that this is how the director is making it. Whereas I think it's mostly just about as effective as it could be. Like really like almost like mathematical in its structure, you know?
Mm-hmm. And I will say, as I was rewatching it for the first time in a very long time for this retrospective, the first 15 minutes or so, I was like, is this not going to be as good as I remember?
Really?
Mm-hmm. It's
Really?
good. It's good, but I remember this being like one of those movies I saw on HBO the year after it came out and being just like fucking floored, you know? Because I was like, whoa, where the fuck did this movie come from? And I feel that way again by the end of it, but it took me like a minute because it really builds up to that finale. Like there's like moments in the back half of this where it's like the build up editing, like as it's cutting back and forth between like footage we've seen before and then the new information we have now. And I was just like on a high watching it.
And you get so used to the rhythm because they really establish like the cutting between like kind of what I think would amount to like the three different parties that are kind of going around in this, which are like George Clooney, fucking Tom Wilkinson, and Tilda Swinton. Like they're always kind of cutting between what those people are up to, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, it builds and builds to attention. And what's kind of like ballsy about the movie is that like we know how it ends basically when we get to that like really tense scene towards the end. But it's like it's still like so it works so well, which is kind of nuts. But I had to disagree. I think the first like 15 minutes are like I would say 10 minutes maybe are like some of the most like effective storytelling in a movie ever.
No, it's very effective. But something like I couldn't get back into it for some reason, and I don't know why. I guess maybe. To your point about the lack of showiness, I think I remembered it being more showy. Yeah. And that's a me problem. It is not on the movie. There's nothing wrong with the first 15 minutes of this movie. It is absolute. You're correct. Mm-hmm. You're absolutely correct. It's a total me problem just trying to find my way back in. Yeah. Which I notice I'm having once in a while. Maybe I just need to sit down with like a bunch of 70s thrillers again or something like that.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. It's just also it's kind of like I think the non-show-offy nature of the film of just like this movie flexes when it needs to, I guess would be the way to say it, you know. Mm-hmm. And it shows off. It's a little reflective of its protagonist, you know. Michael Clayton is this guy. He's like the fixer, but we don't really know like what side he's on and what he's going for, and he makes it look effortless and like passionless, you know, like a lot of the stuff he does. But he's like this invaluable person. By the end, we see what he really is. But I don't know. I love this fucking movie. And like you said, you haven't watched it since when?
Fuck, like 2012 maybe even longer.
This is one of those movies that like I since it came out, I've probably watched it like once a year. And watched it might be a little too much. It's a movie I feel very comfortable putting on in the background. You know, because I can kind of like if I'm in the middle of something, I can look up and I can be in the middle of the scene and can just get like really into that scene and then go back to what I was doing. And I think it's like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, which I've brought up a few times, which we might have to do the next time we do this retrospective. Mm-hmm. I operates in a very similar way with me, but also I said like the opening of this movie is so good. It's a lot similar to me for Miami Vice. Which is a movie that every time I put that shit on, like the first 5 minutes that movie hook me, I just can't like not watch the whole fucking thing. Mm-hmm. You know,
which came out the year before this, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, very interesting time for movies.
Very interesting.
I don't want to get off Michael Clayton. I want to talk a little bit more about like the atmosphere of movies at that point. Because the first half of 2007 is kind of rough for movies. Apart from even the blockbuster stuff I like, there's just not a lot that is remembered from that point in time. The back half of 2007 was so fucking stacked. I think that's the real problem with Michael Clayton, is that it just came out in this point where like there are movies that are all-timer in the back of 2007,
Another
like
movie
just constantly.
That kind of gets lost in that, and I don't know if it holds up. I remember it being pretty solid, was James Gray's We Own the Night.
That's a solid movie. It's maybe my least favorite James Gray, but I really love James Gray.
Yeah. No, James Gray is pretty solid, but like that's one, like that one's like truly lost. It's like Michael Clayton has its defenders. No one really talks about We Own the Night.
Yeah.
And I'm meaning to go back to it, but I just haven't. So
yeah. Just for some other reference of other random movies, I want to mention from 2007. Hot Fuzz, Juno, Into the Wild, Darjeeling Limited, Atonement, Ocean's 13, Enchanted, B-Movie, Sunshine, Stardust, Hot Rod, Wreck, Persepolis, Hairspray, The Mist, Paranormal Activity, Knocked Up, Across the Universe, Live Free or Die Hard, Walk Hard, The Bucket List, which we've joked about being memorable, but it is not, 310 to Yuma, 20 Weeks Later, The Orphanage, Eastern Promises, Funny Games, Trick or Treat, American Gangster.
Now,
do you see
hold
what
on.
I'm getting at here?
I not to like go too far in on you on that one. American Gangster is another one that unfortunately kind of got lost in the shuffle. Like that's one of Ridley Scott's best movies, and it got some traction but not a ton. But you said Paranormal Activity and Trick or Treat, were they both actually released in 2007?
I'm pretty sure Paranormal Activity was.
I thought Paranormal Activity was like got its actual release like a year later. Like it was doing the like slow circuit thing in 2007.
Okay, let me check that.
I could be wrong. I could be just really wrong on that one.
No, it's important to note if it wasn't. Oh, you know what? Yeah, you're right. 2009.
Yeah,
so my bad. Don't count Paranormal Activity. Trick or Treat, I actually don't for sure know now that you mention it.
Trick or
that
Treat
one
was
had
that
a weird. Yeah.
Remember, like that was on the shelf for like years. It was. It's because part of it, because unfortunately Bryan Singer was one of the producers of it. Yeah. That has its whole own can of worms. But he like half the like a bunch of people from X-Men 2 are just in that movie.
Yeah.
Including Brian Cox. You feel like that movie should get a revival now because of fucking
it's
Brian
definitely
Cox.
a cult classic.
Yeah. Remember they announced Trick or Treat 2 and then like nothing has happened.
Yeah, Michael Dougherty's still working on it apparently.
Okay.
So I'm game. So just some last ones I also want to mention. Rush Hour 3, which people have tried to reclaim. Don't do that to me. Look, I'll be there for the first two for Jackie Chan. Don't do this to me though. AVP Requiem.
Hey!
My Blueberry Nights, which is kind of the forgotten Wong Kar-wai movie. It's his American film. And then Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, Sidney Lumet's last film,
fucking yeah,
which is incredible.
An incredible little movie. Another one that like kind of was like a sleeper hit a little bit. Because
Saw 4 and The Diving Bell and the Butterfly, which I just wanted to mention because that's a masterpiece.
Would you call your 2007 your cinephile year? Because of all those movies,
thought about that.
All the movies you just mentioned, I saw most of them in theaters, which is like the first time I really did something like that. And this is how fucking dumb I was. The mall that like had our theater in was like an hour walk from my house, and I would just walk there in winter and summer because I couldn't get a ride.
I don't think so. I think 2008, 2009. Not because of the movies, but that's just when I was like, okay, what is, like, I started thinking about this more. I was like, what is this? And then by 2011, I think I've mentioned that Drive is like the movie that like woke me up a little bit, where I was like, no. Why didn't people like this? Why did I like this? And I got really introspective about that shit for the first time.
That makes sense.
But like around 2008, 2009 probably.
But I saw Michael Clayton, No Country for Old Men, Assassination of Jesse James, and There Will Be Blood, like within a 3-week period, all at once. And it was like, and those were the only 4 movies I really went to see. And like that was kind of like that's a very seminal moment for me in my relationship with movies. Like I'd always been into them, and I remember like I think Pan's Labyrinth is 2006, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was like the first foreign language film I saw. So there's a weird crossroads here for me. It's just weird. Like, so Mike Clayton like occupies kind of an important place for me, and I hope more people start talking about it. At least outside of it's, I don't know. It still feels underrated to me, even with film Twitter
totally
kind of
does.
rallying around it.
Yeah, because you also have to remember film Twitter is a bubble.
Yeah, 100%.
But here's the thing. I do remember being up in San Francisco the year this came out for, unfortunately, a family funeral for a relative that I didn't even know. But, like,
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh at that. That was
No, it was like, this is a funny situation. But, like, I hadn't seen family from up there in so long, and so we, like, spent the whole weekend, even though it was, like, unfortunate circumstances, like, really getting in touch with everyone. And until the pandemic, I was kind of going back up every year, seeing everyone, right? And I remember that being like a big moment for me. And also, they were showing Michael Clayton, and I believe that was my first viewing of Michael Clayton. We all got in the living room together that weekend and saw it because I have these older cinephile relatives, and they were like, yeah, we heard this one was really good. And I was like, oh, I remember seeing the trailer for that. Yeah, it looked really good. And I remember that, like, flooring family members.
Mm-hmm.
And so Michael Clayton's got defenders in San Francisco.
Yeah. I don't know.
Welcome, George Clooney.
Yeah. It's also interesting that, like, where's George Clooney been? What's up with that?
I think he's, like, just shifted into mostly directing right now. Which,
yeah, but he's not good at that. Sorry, Clooney.
Well, look.
What?
Let him make his weird little movies. His unfortunately boring little movies.
I mean, he directed fucking Good Night and Good Luck. Was that 2007?
Let's check. Good Night and Good Luck, and I actually like the Ides
2005.
of March.
Okay, that's way early.
Did you ever see the Ides of March?
Yeah, the Ides of March is, I like it on a lot of levels, but there's a lot of stuff in it that, like, I can understand why people aren't super into it.
Okay.
It's kind of, there's, it's some people hate the Ides of March, which I don't go that far on, but
Did you ever see Confessions of a Dangerous Mind?
Yes, I did. People like that movie. I wasn't a giant fan of it.
Okay, I think his directing in that is at least, like, really interesting.
Yeah, he's
like,
trying stuff.
Yeah, it feels bold. I guess.
I really remember from that movie, though, is Sam Rockwell pointing a gun in the face of the unknown comic.
He's got a new movie out called The Tender Bar on Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Well, he also did The Midnight Sky on Netflix, like, really recently.
Yeah, kind of a dozer offer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice movie to follow.
He also did the one, like, that people skip over is Suburbicon, which is, like, criminal.
That's a bad one.
Although I think The Monuments Men is also, like, equally criminal. I hated The Monuments Men.
Okay, I just thought it was so fucking boring.
It's boring, but, like, it's such a mess where it's trying to be, like, this wacky, like, look at this wacky misfits groups of people trying to save art. And then, like, it'll go from, like, a wacky scene, and then it's like, oh, we just found a bunch of fucking gold teeth that were taken from Jews killed in the Holocaust. And it's like, why are these two things next to each other?
Yeah.
Clooney's very bad at threading. He can't really do, like, oscillating tones.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Suburbicon has the same problem where it's trying to be, because he took a Coen Brothers script and then, like, added to it. And it's trying to be, like, a wacky crime drama while also, like, an important film about, like, race relations in the 50s.
Yeah. Suburbicon also shares the same cinematographer as Michael Clayton, Robert Elswit, who I think I've dunked on in this podcast in good fun. He's a great cinematographer. I think I just dunked on him because he was talking at the THR roundtables, like, I would like to get people's perspective on film versus digital because I think my digital work looks too clinical, and everyone just kind of groaned and was like, oh, dude, just take out the fill light. Like, it was just so dismissive. It was so funny. Like, you could still find it. I think it was the 2017 one, 2018 one, whenever the Blade Runner 2049 stuff was around. But it's so funny because it's just like no one gives a shit. But his work here is great.
Yeah.
And we're talking about, like, the non-showiness of it, but, like, sometimes just being a sturdy movie is, like, enough. Like, the material here is more than sturdy, but it's nice just to watch, like, a good old-fashioned drama again, also, once in a while. Those definitely feel rarer and rarer.
Yeah, they really do. And there's something about just putting it straight, like those type of dramas straight to streaming. I don't know. Like the whole look that is being enforced by the streaming platforms just they don't work for me, you know? Like, I'm sure someone will find a way to use it, like, artistically, but right now it's like I mostly see the crap.
I think it's just the way streaming processes the image, right? Mm-hmm. It's not, there's no like post-production pipeline at Netflix or anything like that, but it's just the cameras they use and the lighting equipment when it comes down to like how you capture it on the camera. People tend to shoot wide open, so for people that don't know, like f-stops, they go up and down between like 0.9 all the way up to like f/22. F/22 will have everything in focus, right? So think of like Citizen Kane, how like every part of the image is in focus. For like shooting wide open f-stop formats, think of Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. That's why that looks like that. I like that movie, not a fan of that. And when you shoot wide open, it's really good for close-ups. It instantly draws your attention to it. It's a lot of the Batman was had that for the close-ups, and I think it looks fucking fantastic there. Also because the entire movie isn't shot like that, which maybe would have been distracting. And but it's also that wide open format is kind of like the look right now for all the streaming dramas. Like I think the Ozarks, does that a lot. Basically any prestige drama you've seen in the last 5 to 7 years has a lot of those like fuzzy close-ups, and it doesn't look great because that also compresses the information to like the center of the screen, and you lose a lot of like the stuff on the sides, which again is good for like motivated camera decisions. But if you're doing that all the time, it looks weird, and then it looks like kind of phony.
Why has that just become the standard? Like, what is?
I think it's like immediately, or people think it's like assume it's more like immediately cinematic or something. I'll be honest, as someone who recently got into film photography, the first like 5 rolls of film I shot were entirely wide open because I was like, oh, it'll look way cooler. And it's like, some stuff did. About like 10 shots for every 36 shots of a film roll that I had. And, you learn to fiddle with that. And I think just people don't understand like the full capabilities of a camera now, or maybe they understand, but they don't like. It feels like people aren't as allowed to be as bold, I guess, or maybe they're scared of like messing up. I don't know. There's probably a lot of factors in that. I'm not a cinematographer, but I think that look can hinder
one of the
a production.
Benefits of shooting digitally is that like you can kind of get like a more immediate idea of what the image is going to look like, Mm-hmm. So it just feels weird that no one is, I don't know, like, maybe it looks good. Maybe it's that thing. Maybe a lot of people are kind of doing it like you just said, where it's like, it probably looked good on the day, but then when you get in the editing room, it's like, what the fuck do you have to work with a bunch of shit that looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
And maybe that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, maybe.
A little like, depressing.
Yeah. And, there's people doing great work still. Like, I'm definitely not saying, like, it's a lost art or anything like that. It's just, it's unfortunate that that's kind of, like, our modern look. And every generation of filmmaking's got, like, a look,
Yeah.
Like, the dirty grime of the 70s is great. The ramshackle, like, low-budget stuff in the 80s is lots of fun. Everyone fucking jizzes over the neon lighting, but it's, like, more than that, in my opinion. The 90s has that, like, beginning of, like, that sweaty, saturated look. 2000s were the shit, like we were just talking about, with, like, really interesting blockbusters. That's the perfect marriage of, like, digital effects and practical effects. Like,
yeah.
I know you don't like the pirate sequels, but those movies, like, for their budgets, look amazing. They look better than like a bunch of shit that's
coming out. They should fucking look amazing if they're $300 million.
Yeah. And Michael Clayton was like shot for $20 million? $21.5 million? That would just like not happen now.
Yeah.
This would be an 8-part miniseries.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's the other thing, is that anything that's like, well, because like I said, the script's like really solid, but if you expanded on it, it would be less interesting. And yeah, I feel like that's exactly what would happen. Is someone would be like, "Well, turn this into a fucking miniseries." Mm-hmm. That's why. That's another thing. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're right. I don't know if I brought it up before, but like someone asked Michael Mann about that. Like, if someone asked you to turn Heat into a miniseries instead of a film today, and you hadn't made it, would you? And he was like, "Yeah, I think that answer is depressing." Or I think that question's depressing. No, I wouldn't. And it's like, yeah, because not everything's a fucking TV show.
Yeah.
Bring back the 24-episode season 2. Sorry. You might get some stinkers like that, but it'll be more fucking interesting than everything being just an hour of padded drama.
I don't know if that's what I want. I mean...
No, I definitely do. I think we need to learn the basics again before we can start experimenting.
The episode number isn't what matters. What really should come back is the fucking... Make these episodes self-contained stories,
Yeah.
Stop doing this shit where like every episode has a bunch of little things set up and then ends on some fucking cliffhanger that's supposed to get me to watch the next episode.
Yeah, because
and
The
you
Mandalorian,
really,
even at its worst, was kind of good at that.
Yeah.
But or at least reminded me of that.
But also, if you're going to be like Disney Plus, I think is the worst offender of this because they still do the weekly releases and they're still structure these things like streaming series, Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, but dude, I'm not going to see an episode for a fucking week. But it's, it's turned into that thing so like everyone can fucking talk about it now. And it works for what they're going for. But
I would argue it's working less and less.
I think so too, but now it's just because I think it's less that it's not working as much. It's just there's so much out there, like who the fuck can keep up with it, Mm-hmm. Like I'm supposed to get excited about the ending of seven different streaming episodes,
Yeah.
Like, who has time for that?
Before going back to Michael Clayton, I've made it known that I'm a huge fan of James Gunn's Peacemaker series, which really took me by surprise. I was hoping I'd like it, and I think it's one of the best things he's ever done.
Still haven't watched it, so...
I think you'll really, really like it.
I hope so.
They dropped the first 3 episodes on the same day. And that's how you do it. Okay, you do that, because they're all kind of a pilot episode together. It's like part 1, part 2, part 3. And then the next 5 episodes were weekly, and they were self-contained, even though they were still, or at least the conflict in each episode was started and resolved in the same episode, and then they kind of carry on the overall story. That the structure of that one's like really fun.
I think
that
unfortunately,
one worked really well.
A lot of this goes back to I think Breaking Bad kind of broke television.
Like we say about the Dark Knight kind of breaking superhero movies. It's less. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah. Also, you watch Breaking Bad, those episodes are like solid, complete stories. They just also contributed to an ongoing narrative that kept getting more and more intense,
Yeah. And it really comes down to structuring a story really well, which, to go back to Michael Clayton now officially, does really well. Like the way it seeds the mystery about not just the plot, but the character stuff. Like the way you get to know who Michael is, who Tom Wilkinson... Arthur Edens, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy who's
Arthur Edens.
Yeah.
Who is covering up for a weed killer. Edens.
Anyway. I wonder if that's a metaphor. Guess we'll never know. As
also,
he stares
Arthur,
up at the
I don't know, but
wait, what?
Maybe Arthur's got something to do with he's on a quest, he's on a crusade of some kind. Anyway.
I'm stupid. I didn't even think about that part. The Edens thing I caught.
That's I'm probably just reading too much into it.
No, because this is here. Let me pull up one of my pals' takes of this on Letterboxd. This is from Danny Bowes, a writer-director, and he wrote that it is very much a writer's movie. Mm-hmm. And as a writer, I say thank you. And it totally is. So what he means by that is stuff like Arthur Edens, like you said, a man on a quest to solve a mystery about, or to reveal a mystery about a poisoned garden protector, or many poisoned gardens.
On a quest to protect a fair maiden, in a way.
Yeah. Oh my. See, look.
I don't know. I could
be entirely plausible. No. Tony Gilroy is absolutely one of those dudes who writes shit like that, and I say that as a positive. Mm-hmm. Nothing but a positive.
Yeah.
I mean, down to the George Clooney bit where he walks over to the horses before his car blows up, and there's 3 horses. He has 2 brothers, right? Mm-hmm. And then after that scene, he calls the brother that he told his son was just kind of a broken man. He's the one who calls him for help. Mm-hmm. So it's like it's all very pointed. The thing
and it takes the three brothers coming together at the end, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like they all end up working together.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like obvious though.
Yeah.
You know, like I definitely didn't get that when I first saw it.
Well, this is also a movie where like there's the scene where the kid is talking about the book Realm and Conquest that he's like obsessed with.
Yeah, a fake book for the film, but
yeah.
That's awesome.
And they're like, and he's like, you don't know who to trust, you don't know who's on whose side and whatnot. And like, that's literally the conflict of the movie. Like, that's 100% what is happening here. But it doesn't feel forced in a way that I feel like other movies would have like really underlined it, you know?
Mm-hmm. I think it might be at least. It might just be the non-showy filmmaking of it all too.
Yeah. No, I think, like I said, to take to the point where like this is a writer's film, which like I agree with, but I think the reserve directing isn't like a mistake or anything. I think it's a choice that like works really well. And I would even compare this to like, I think the best John Carpenter stuff is like incredibly like solid script, right? Mm-hmm. And then he tells it about as efficiently as possible with 1, 2, maybe 3 show-offy sequences, you know? Like, you think about Halloween, which is, like, one of the most effective movies ever about... And it's just about a killer who's going to kill, like, about 3 people, you know? Like, but it's so effectively done, and there's only really that one opening shot of the movie that is, like, super, like, show-offy, I'm the director making this fucking movie scene. And the rest just does it incredibly solidly. And I think that's something that's really lost because, unfortunately, a lot of people that kind of get attracted to directing, which I understand, you want to have fun, you know? You want to be as flamboyant and big as possible, and you want to show off, like, oh, here's the one, look at this one take I did. And look how fucking incredible it is. And, you know, some people are really great at that stuff. Most people aren't, but they still do it anyway.
Yeah, I think a big problem, and I'd rather this problem than you just being fucking boring, don't worry.
Yeah.
Is that some people don't know when to utilize that flashiness. To not name anyone who's coming up, because like when you're coming up in this stuff, like it's totally fine to make mistakes, or it should be. But you know, the obvious choice is Michael Bay. Mm-hmm. He's the guy who's like, wow, how the fuck did you just capture that on film? But then it's also like, but why did you capture that on film in that way? Like, and it's just constantly that, and sometimes that's a little much for people. Not me, because he's my problematic fave.
Because you're a broken human being.
Broken man, yeah. And that's why I love his Transformers film. At least 3 of them, maybe. I like that last one.
And everything I get out of Michael Bay, it's like I could just watch the clip on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need the context of why this is happening.
Yeah.
It won't help.
Go listen to our Island retrospective.
Oh, yes.
With a movie that should have been incredible and it's kind of not.
Is Pain and Gain a failed awards film?
Because it's Michael Bay, it feels weird to call it that. I don't know.
It's
definitely him going for a Coen Brothers thing.
Yeah, it's definitely him trying to tell like an actual story in some capacity. But also, you got to remember that like all the Transformers films had for your consideration campaigns.
Do you know about like why they do that for like a lot of big movies? Not just, like everyone kind of dunked on Marvel for that, and it is
I
very
think you told me, but I already forgot why.
Okay, well, if I haven't brought it up on the retrospective before, here you go. A lot of productions will try to do that just to get something, even if it's like just best makeup, best costumes,
I assume
that's all.
That was what was going on there.
Yeah, it's not complicated. It's not nothing skeevy. Mm-hmm. Not like trying to make a fan award that you could vote for on Twitter.
The only person that would think that Marvel really wanted No Way Home to get a Best Picture nomination is Kevin Smith.
Well, you know, it would be weird if the company that produced that film would also host the biggest awards in American cinema on a channel that they run, and then made a specific award that fans could vote for when the recent biggest hit that they had wasn't nominated for anything else.
That is strange,
that would be weird.
Honestly. That is
it's very strange.
Whatever.
No one talks about that.
This is why we got to just fucking abandon the Oscars. Like, let it go, man. Like,
I think it's like the Super Bowl, where it's like it is kind of fun to get engaged with. It also should be on a different channel.
Yeah.
And also, like, the Game Awards rack up like 80 million views, if you're getting fucking swept over by the Game Awards and viewership, change up your shit.
But that's also just because young people play video games. Like,
sure, but
young people don't watch movies.
You
really.
You don't have to worry about trying to figure out what's hip with the kids. Just like do a good show, figure out a way to get it across like modern platforms. The fact that you actually have to tune in at a
none of this debate is worth it under capitalism.
I guess so. Yeah.
Like they're just gonna be like, how do we make as much fucking money as possible?
Yeah, you're probably right.
Which is how you lead to a deadly weed killer.
Yeah. By EU North's CEO and his counsel, Tilda Swinton.
Never use the words immediate and unanticipated in the same sentence.
How fucking good is the cast in this?
I know, yeah.
Tilda Swinton is incredible. Have people turned on her?
What was she in recently?
Oh, after Doctor Strange, where it was like.
Well, there was that, but what was the other thing?
She was in Memoria, which most people on planet Earth haven't seen because that film had a very strange, staggered release, like an art exhibit, which I love, but is maybe not the way you promote a movie.
Bad timing to do a release like that.
Yeah,
is all.
My hot take about Memoria, which I haven't seen, but may have an opportunity to do so.
Oh, if people turned on her, it's because the Suspiria remake.
Oh,
that's what people turned on her.
Well, let me just give my piece about
everyone
Memoria.
attached to that movie everyone's angry at those people.
Oh, are they?
It feels like it every time I'm on fucking Twitter.
Oh, okay. I liked it. I don't know.
I know it's solid, but it's not Suspiria, so...
I agree with that.
Burn in hell!
Memoria, directed by Pichapong Bodhisattva. I think that's a great way to release a film that had its official release like in a normal capacity first, so people could see it, and then you do it like that. Because also that director is like an artist apart from filmmaking, and they do exhibits, and I don't know, it's not like a mind-blowing thing. It's not like an upsetting thing he's trying to do. I don't know. People get weird about that movie. I'm looking forward to it. Tilda Swinton's great, and Michael Clayton, and I don't know how you end the film without wanting to see her like dead.
It's weird. She's kind of girl boss before girl boss was the thing.
I know.
You know, this is kind of like peak people hate Hillary Clinton.
Oh, you know what? Maybe that's it.
Because like we're in like the Democratic primaries are ramping up, and it's
that's right.
Yeah, so it's like Obama looks like this shining hope of the future, and Clinton looks like she's got her foot in the past, which is what makes it like doubly insane that they even considered her for the 2016 nomination.
Yeah,
like that's just the Democrats. I mean. But I mean, I don't think people want to talk about like how like hated Hillary was in 2016 and how that was unfair or whatever. It was like so much worse in 2007 because I was there for that. I remember that shit. Like
take a moment to look through like news headlines and like the history books about that, or like not like official history books because they won't tell you how much she was hated, but. I think the only reason people think it was worse in 2016, and you know, we've always talked about it. There's a whole other point of conjecture with like the inherent misogyny of this country too, right? Apart from Hillary genuinely being terrible. If the internet was as prevalent as it was in 2016, back in 2007, I think we'd be like, oh yeah, there's no competition. Like it was bad.
There's a really good book, I think written by like a completely canceled man, unfortunately. Called Game Change. You ever read Game Change?
I saw the movie.
Well, here's the thing. The movie is just about the Sarah Palin thing. That book covers like the whole 2008 election. And the first part is primarily about the Democratic primary race. And it's kind of fascinating. And like that book was published in like 2010. It's a window in that just like Hillary Clinton can't fucking run a campaign. Like if you want to learn anything, that's what you learn from it. And it's just nuts that the same fucking thing happened. You know.
What's the Bill Burr thing about like I don't feel sorry about Hillary Clinton. Sorry, because the other guy kept running it. I'll just put the clip here.
So not a lot of sympathy there for Hillary Clinton.
No, you blew it. You blew it. You put the wrong team around you. You didn't generate enough excitement to beat this guy. Who, I mean, it was unbelievable. The stuff that he was just tripping over one coffee table after another, and somehow you just couldn't get out in front of this guy.
I did not know that there's a commentary track by writer-director Tony Gilroy in this film. I'm going to buy the Blu-ray now and absolutely listen to it. Yeah. I rewatched this on HBO Max.
Yeah, if you don't, it's on HBO Max if you have that, and it's worth watching. Trying to think like if I should really like I could really talk about this movie for fucking ever.
There's a fucking lot. I know, and like unfortunately I am on a time schedule today, so like I can't. But like think about like one or two things you want to talk about because there's so much fucking stuff. But I want to mention the cast. Merritt Weaver, who I think is like one of her first big roles. She was in stuff like Marriage Story. She had a recurring bit in my beloved New Girl show. She's great. She's fantastic. She was in Godless. Did you ever see Godless?
You know what? Netflix? I don't think I have.
Okay, that's like one of the good like miniseries things.
Okay, yeah.
I wish it was a movie. It would have been better, maybe. But like, that's great, and she's great in it. Dennis O'Hare.
His scene. He's got like one scene in the fucking movie, and it's fucking great.
He's incredible.
That might be like I gotta say like I just want to talk about like the first like 10 minutes initially.
Okay, yeah.
Because we get the monologue from Tom Wilkinson, which like if you don't know what's going on, it's like what the fuck is this? This is pretty intense. And we just get this introduction of we go to Tilda Swinton like immediately like in the bathroom like where she's like feeling her armpits because she's all sweaty.
Yeah.
Oh no, that first we get Sidney Pollack is also in the movie. Director Sidney Pollack. Who had like a weird like run of just like popping up in movies. Like he's in The Player, he's in fucking what do you call it? Eyes Wide Shut. Like
yeah.
Interesting history with that guy where he has this good like moment where it's just this we get a really good look into all these characters like immediately of just where they're getting the call from the Wall Street Journal. Being like, I know you're fucking closing on this deal. Like, you got to give me something. Like, you can't be holding out on this. Like, I'm just going to print whatever. And he just does that thing where he's like, look, it's obvious that you're fishing because you either don't have a story or you're afraid about writing a retraction. Either way, I wish you the best. And he just hangs up.
Yeah.
It's like you get him. And then we just go, either he's like, well, where is Karen Crowder? And that's when we find her in the bathroom all sweaty and nervous. We don't know what's going on there. And then we get Clooney, which if you... talk about like shit that's just lost the time where like his BlackBerry where he has to put his BlackBerry in that little what is it like a plastic container because he's gonna illegally gamble and he gets harassed by and we get like the little pieces of like he had a restaurant didn't go well but we don't really they're throwing so many pieces at us but we don't know what any of it is and we don't even know if we're supposed to be picking up on this stuff at this point like there's the pretty obvious his GPS acting weird when he's driving over to his job and like you might not even clock that because you aren't thinking you're supposed to
yeah
like
when I first saw this my thought was like oh this is a dude who's like okay he's obviously in debt his life's kind of falling apart he can't afford to get his car fixed and then later it's like oh because they planted a bomb in it
and literally 5 minutes later his car fucking explodes but just his conversation with fucking Dennis O'Hare, where it's just because this is Michael Clayton. He is the fixer for like a big New York law firm, and he's called in because this guy has committed hit and run. Like he straight up ran over a guy and left the scene, which is bad. And I don't know, maybe it's just me. Have you ever been in people's houses where you're like, oh, these people have fucking money? Like, just being in their kitchen like that. Mm-hmm. I've been in so many kitchens, and here's the thing: they all look like that guy. They all look like Dennis O'Hare, and they all have a wife who's clearly unhappy. It's weird. There's that rich neighborhood I grew up with. All these houses look like that.
They get divorced after this movie. There's no way they stay together.
No, they don't because what's cool is you can tell what she is so worried about is how this is going to look to everyone. Like, that's their primary concern in this, where he's like, he's going on, he's like, with the way the angle is, and I've talked about that angle. I've talked about how the light hits the thing all the time. You heard me talk about that. His wife doesn't even say anything.
Yeah.
Because they're expecting Michael Clayton to come in and just make it all go away, and he's like, no, this is going to go to trial. Like, that's what's going to happen. And because they're just worried right now about, like, how is this going to look? Because everyone's going to know what he did. And that's when Michael Clayton's like, I'm not here to clean up. I'm a janitor. Like... trying to make the mess as small as possible so it's easy to clean up. And that's really what he is.
Mm-hmm.
Even by the end of the movie, he's still a janitor.
The big thing that changed my perspective on that opening scene later on this rewatch is that I think he would have tried to maneuver like more connections in the opening of that scene had he not just gone through the journey that he went on through the rest of the film.
Yeah.
Like he would have like, all right, I got a guy in the police department, yada yada yada. Mm-hmm. But by this point, it looks like, again, to go back to the thing where it looks like he's a guy whose life is falling apart to me the first time I watch it, and like he looks like he's just like bad at his job, you know. And it's like, no, he's not like bad at trying to like clean shit up. It's just like he's tapped out of that part of his life now, and he's making like a shift, even though he is still occupying
he's still doing
a
it, but
similar role.
he's going through the. I mean, but he's going through the motions even at the start of the movie. You know, there's the whole scene where we just hear him in his office, where like people are calling him, being like, yeah, they just want you to threaten this district attorney, like just like make him understand like that he's dealing with serious stuff. And Clooney's like, all right, like,
or I like the bit where he's getting another call for like, oh yeah, we need you to check up on this kid or whatever. And he's like, how old's the kid? 22. He's like, ah, shit. And they're like, all right, let me get a pen. And he's got a pen in his hand. He starts clicking it. Like, I love that little touch where he's just like, I'm not interested in this.
Yeah. And it's just, it's great where it's just like he's had this conversation a million times. And it's also kind of funny because it's a little bit of a microcosm of what ends up being the conflict between him and Tilda Swinton, where it's like, this guy doesn't understand, like, there's no secret, like, cabal of people that are going to make this go away. It's like just all, but he's just there because all the rules are stacked in favor of a guy like this,
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think also what I kind of like about this movie is it kind of does reflect a little bit of how I think about the world, Mm-hmm. We're going to be covering more conspiracy films on this show. Those will be coming up. And a lot of those will deal with like conspiracies involving like hundreds of people and like at the highest levels of government, and like they don't really make sense when you think about it. But that's how some people really view the world, and I think I'm much closer to like Michael Clayton, where it's just like, no, there's no secret. It's just I can just maneuver the rules to work for you. It's already all set up for you, but you got to go through X, Y, and Z still.
Yeah, I mean that's what I really love about the movie too. Like it's such a cynical fucking movie.
Oh, it's so deeply cynical.
It's miserable. It's so great. But like you also get the effect of the Arthur Eden's character when he's like kind of he has lost his mind, but not in the way people think.
Yeah.
And he's just walking through Times Square to kind of get like a feel of the world again, and it's just really kind of moving scene where he's like he feels like he has like a purpose, like his life has been reevaluated. And then he sees that company's logo pop up in Times Square, and it's like, oh, this is like, that's right. This is like the world. Mm-hmm. Like, their hands are like all tied together in a way. Like all these, this evil is not isolated, but it's still like driving. Like that character's so tragic.
It is
it's so fucking tragic. Tom Wilkinson's great.
He makes the big miscalculation of thinking like he can do it on his own, like that he can be the one guy because he kind of wants to be to make up for all the shit that he did, where like he defended his company. He wants to be this hero, And there's that creepy element to it where like he has champagne waiting for this young woman,
Oh yeah, no, there's definitely like a weird angle there.
Like
that
it wasn't
the movie doesn't like fully explain, but it doesn't let him off the hook either.
Yeah.
Which I think is appropriate, unfortunately.
No, I think it really works.
Yeah.
Just like, because it would be a little... I think some movies like this, they want to have the guy who comes in like, I'm the crusader for truth and justice. Mm-hmm. And this movie's like, people don't just wake up to that overnight. And then like, even people that do, like some people, we're trying to fill a lot of voids in our life with a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And there's all this stuff about how he has this daughter he doesn't speak to. He's trying to make up for that in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And, it all fits together real neatly. But also it leads to, it's more there just so we can have the clue where, like, Clooney's like, well, why did he have champagne ready if he was going to kill himself? Which we find out, we know he didn't kill himself, but Clooney doesn't.
Yeah.
which is probably the darkest scene in any movie. His assassination is pretty brutal.
Yeah,
for like a scene that shows nothing violent, you know, like
It's so fucking depressing.
And we talk about I talk about how like there's only a few scenes, like that's a one take scene, you know, like we follow it, and that's a really good moment to use that of just like how clinical and depressing it is. And it's this weird where like everything has become corporatized. It's really it's kind of really poignant, like right before the economic collapse, because it's like literally like the hitmen even operate on this level, you know?
Yeah.
Or like there's that scene where it's like, well, we deal in absolutes, you know, like.
And they're like, do you want to maybe call your boss or whatever the guy's name is? He's from The Office.
Don Jeffries.
Don Jeffries, yeah.
They keep saying it, and it's so funny that you just
the boss of Michael Scott is
yeah.
responsible for the murder here. No, actually he's not. But the hitman asked, like, do you want to maybe call Don Jeffries? And she's like, no, Don's busy. I can handle this. And it's like, I think the extent that the film shows like how these decisions are like made to basically keep the people in charge's hands clean, you know, like because they do put these wheels in motion that allow these things to happen, even if they are not directly involved. I think another great show, or another great story that does this is the show Terriers, which I've mentioned a lot, which is like
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen Terriers.
I won't get into it, but the final revelation of like the mystery is very similar, where it's like there were wheels in motion that the man on top didn't like have a hand in, but they definitely allowed to continue.
You know.
Because it's just like, that's how you keep the wheels turning, you know? That's how you keep the money rolling in. It's like, well, I didn't know about that. That's awful. And it's like, but these people all worked for you, and they weren't going behind your back either. So it's fascinating. It feels more realistic.
And Don Jeffries is like this interesting specter over the whole movie, you know? Like, he has like maybe a handful of lines.
Yeah.
But it's like they're always talking about him, and like he has his hands in everything, even if he's not pulling the lever, too. I do love, I gotta say, Tilda Swinton's scene where she's doing the interview is incredible. Where it's so like it's such bullshit where you see her practicing the lines, but then she has to make it seem authentic, you know?
Yeah.
But not even that, like they go so far as like we see that they're putting the UNorth logo on the wall behind her. Like it's whatever office space they're using doesn't even have that there. Like it's so transparent. And there's just that moment, and again, like Don Jeffries is right there. Where like they go like, well, how do you find a balance between work and personal life? And again, she's been practicing this. She knows the question, and like there's a moment where like her and Don Jeffries like look at each other. Well, it's like, wow, I don't know how to answer that question. Like it's so bad.
Yeah.
It's great. It's this like weird like the banality of evil shit, you know. And. Like, I also like that, like, everyone seems to know someone, you know? It's like, everyone's got these weird connections. Because, like, the hitman, she's like, yeah, I got your number through this person, and it said you can help with these sort of things. And they're like, yeah, we can do that. Like,
yeah, to
sure,
me,
whatever.
I think this is scarier than, like, the Riddler, I guess. That is not a disrespect to the Batman. Go listen to the retrospective we did on it. We both big fans. But, like, this is like a tangible reality, which is like horrifying.
Yeah.
As we wrap up, I also want to mention that maybe no line in a drama post 2000s has ever gone harder than "I'm Shiva, the God of Death," even though that is incorrect.
Yeah. I was gonna bring
the
that up.
actual God of Death is personified by Yama. So
it's
that, Tony Gilroy.
They're trying to do "I am become death, the destroyer of worlds" without saying "I am become death, the destroyer of worlds," and they kind of bumbled it. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah, Tony Gilroy's a white guy.
There's one line in this film that might go a little harder.
Okay.
Which is just before Clooney says it, where he just goes, "You're so fucked."
Oh yeah.
There's never been a more satisfying line, I would say.
Oh no, that ending is so satisfying. Even though like the cab ride's like very like ominous.
Yeah.
You know? Him just like fucking destroying Tilda Swinton and that entire like cover up is so fucking great. I felt like the wind knocked out of me when I first saw it, but like not in a bad way, you know, like kind of like the drop on a roller coaster where I was like, oh shit.
And it's this weird reminder that Clooney is like a really good actor.
He's
like,
so fucking good. Is this his best role?
It might be. Other than like when he's playing a fucking boob in like a Coen Brothers movie. Like he's really good at comedy as well.
Yeah.
But because you see him go through like a bunch of different George Clooney's in that one scene, you know? Like he kind of has like a Danny Ocean vibe at the start of that scene.
Yeah, that's the one time, I just want to say, that's the one time he kind of has like his trademark smirk, because he's like a handsome dude. He gets by on a lot of that, like that notoriety in terms of like his Hollywood fame. But he's a really talented actor. And the rest of his performance for the majority of the film is like really reserved and kind of hollowed out. Like, he's kind of like Arthur Eden's kind of also trying to find like a little more once like the story gets going, you know, like he's not questioning it at the start of the film, but I think as the journey of the film continues and he's going on this mystery.
Well, Arthur has a very like clear idea of what he wants and what he thinks will help. And there's a scene where he's like, "I'm not the enemy," and Arthur's like, "Well, then who are you?" You know, which again comes back to the fucking story the kid's reading, and you might not know if this person's your enemy or not. Realm and Conquest. Also, the other really good Clooney acting scene is when it's just him and the son in the car.
Oh, it's so good.
And that feels like a shockingly real moment. Like even in the middle of this movie, you know. Like where it's just the kid's like he's crying because of drugs, right? And Dad's like, yeah, and everything else. And they just drive away. And then like the dad kind of has that moment, like, you know, he's driving away and he's just kind of like, I gotta talk to my kid about this. Like I can't just leave that and make that the note of this moment. He's you're not gonna be one of those people going through life with this like waiting for something to fucking fall out of the sky on you, you know? Like, which is, I don't know, it's a fantastic moment.
No, it's great, and like again, like the journey of this film really changes this character. Well, maybe not like super changes him, but like it wakes him up in a way that he wasn't before. Because like when we first see him take his kid to school, it's just like, yeah, hey, you know, very reserved small talk. And then by that point, he's like, I think he understands that there needs to be more. He needs to be present, even if he's not going to become like some Caped Crusader or some shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's not. This guy doesn't become Batman, I don't think.
That becomes who he is, you know. Clayton.
Sorry, I don't know why that made me laugh.
Because he's like Clay, you know.
I'm really upset at that revelation. I didn't think about that. God damn you, Tony Gilroy.
Hey, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I hope Tony Gilroy gets to do like another like thriller like this or something, you know?
Yeah, I feel like if Tony Gilroy got started like in the 70s, he would be pumping shit out more.
But there's about a dozen guys you could say that about, you know, like where they would have really different careers if it was a better time for the film industry.
Yeah, maybe.
Who's the guy who did Margin Call? J.C. Chandor.
Yeah, he's a good director.
Yeah, like he's getting a lot of work, but it feels like he'd be doing different things. You know, he's doing fucking Kraven the Hunter. God damn it!
I know. They just cast Ariana DeBose in that, and I was like, I'm gonna get you out of there.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. If they're doing Kraven's Last Hunt, it might be a good movie.
Yeah, but Spider-Man's not gonna be in it.
Whatever, they'll fucking figure something out. I don't care.
Yeah, have him hunt his brother or something.
Yeah.
His brother's the chameleon, so that should be easy.
Margin Call might be a movie to do on here.
Margin Call's fucking good.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna get the press going over these fucking economic downturn films.
No, you know what? I like them. I like the economic downturn movies.
No, I do too. And like, I'm realizing how much I just fucking love a good sturdy drama lately. But it's fucking depressing.
Margin Call is a movie that's like has so much tension in it, and I think like half of it just takes place in that one boardroom. You know, like it's kind of wild.
Yeah.
Another stacked cast and Kevin Spacey.
I was gonna say, yeah, Kevin Spacey.
That's a real shame.
Yeah. Let's see. Anyone else canceled from that cast? I like to play 6 Degrees of Kevin Spacey.
Jeremy Irons made that like one weird comment about gay marriage, but like no one ever followed up on it. Like
maybe that's for the best. He's fucking 73. He's from the UK. There's probably some shit with him.
And if you watch that interview, it's also like it feels like he does like he's like out of it. So like there's you could almost write it off of being like this is a guy who just doesn't think about these things. Yeah. Which is better than someone who's like an active bigot. But, you know,
Like,
hey.
you can't go a fucking week without J.K. Rowling being like, and another thing!
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, dude, shut the fuck up.
Do you think it will ever become obvious to her that, like, she's lost it? Like, not, like, mentally, just, like, she's not going to be, like, the canonical fantasy author that she was going to be now. Like, no matter how many more millions of books she sells, like, it's just over at this point.
No, I don't think she'll ever notice.
Unless she, like, goes through, like, a real, like, big public transformation, which would be a lot, you know? Which you can always hope that one day J.K. Rowling wakes up and realizes she's a horrible asshole. But
that would be fantastic.
You know, that's what.
But she probably has more in common with Tilda Swinton and Michael Clayton.
Yeah, unfortunately, but it's, you know, I don't know. You just kind of.
No, you do hope people could change.
Yeah.
But,
if you could change, but I could change. Anybody could change.
Is Rocky IV a failed award contender?
No, but it did end the Cold War.
Yeah.
Which is why we've never had any problems with Russia.
Yep.
Looks into the camera.
I know. Why? What are they up to?
Yeah, you know, things are going good. Nothing bad has ever happened in the Balkans.
Just cut to the scenes from Come and See.
Yeah.
It's fucking
no, hey, that's a
listeners.
Russian movie. We have to ban it.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy up every Tarkovsky Criterion right now just to
be safe.
Just in case.
Just to be safe.
Sorry, my goat.
How fucking stupid is this country?
I know, it's so fucking. They're like, we have like a terrible problem with like alcohol in this country too, like genuine alcoholism.
Yeah.
Like it's just so like ingrained in the culture, but also you're renaming the Moscow Mules.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is that?
It's
not actually from Moscow.
We're the dumbest. Well, remember, this is a country that, like, Corona sales dropped dramatically after the coronavirus started spreading.
I know.
We live in the dumbest fucking country. Is all it really comes to. It's one thing to live in, like, this horrible imperialistic empire, you know? Like, it all sucks, but you would think we would at least be good at it. Like... We can't even do war well. Like, what the fuck?
Anyways, we both recommend Michael Clayton.
Yeah, Michael Clayton's great. Great movie. Like 100. I'm not even going like, it's pretty good. It's a great movie. 5 stars. It's the only problem is its competition is like every other film released in 2007.
I know.
That's the problem. Is like it just off the top of my head, I know it gets beat by fucking No Country for Old Men, There Will Be Blood, and The Assassination of Jesse James. I can't tell you which of those 3 though is the true #1 movie. Can you?
No. It's fucking hard. 2007 was a great fucking year for movies by the end.
Yeah. Which I guess we
is
all
Michael
win.
Clayton... Sorry, really quick. Is Michael Clayton on the top, like, 100 films of the last 2 decades for you?
Probably. Here's what's wild. I have my list. I just pulled my list up for 2007 of, like, what my top films are. And I add to this based on, like, when I watch it. So these are all movies I've watched since I started making the list. Mm-hmm. I put Michael Clayton, again, which I'm saying is a great movie. I put Michael Clayton at number 8 on the list.
Okay.
So, controversially, this might be controversial. Something I put it ahead of Eastern Promises.
Ooh, I got to think about that one.
Yeah, and I will say I cheat.
Yeah,
I cheat a little bit because I also base on like when they were released in America. So I have the 2006 film Paprika is on the list, but it was released in America in 2007. So that's my number 2. Right now, I have No Country as number 1. Then
it's kind of like I think it's one of those that's kind of like a basic choice, but also not wrong in the slightest.
Yeah,
like
it's the
I
one
rewatched that earlier this year, and I was just like, "Fucking goddamn, what a movie!"
It's the one I keep coming back to, you know. Mm-hmm. Then it's There Will Be Blood. Then The Assassination, which I think Assassination of Jesse James might be the number 1 in my heart ultimately. The next 2 might be controversial. I put Hot Fuzz at 5.
That's not controversial to me at all. That's my favorite Edgar Wright movie.
I know
Still.
people are like angry at Edgar Wright now.
Yeah, but fuck them. That's such a good movie.
Zodiac is number 6.
Nice.
And then 7, just ahead of Michael Clayton, which I might have to change this, but it was what I felt at the time. The documentary, The King of Kong.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of an incredible documentary.
All right, I'll give it a watch.
Starring a real... You've never seen it?
No.
Oh my god, it's got a real-life supervillain in it. In the form of Billy Mitchell, the guy with the fucking Donkey Kong high score. Who comes across as one of the most evil guys ever committed to film. He compares the debate over the Donkey Kong high score to the abortion issue.
Oh my god.
Yes. That documentary is fucking wild. Everyone check that out too if you can.
Okay. I guess we got to wrap up on Michael Clayton.
Yeah, sorry for going a little.
No. We're still good. Just yeah. I mean, we could talk about this for another 2
but again,
hours.
I just wanted to illustrate how good a year 2007 was. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I think 2013 kind of had a similar effect, where it was like the first half of the year we're like, well, could be a bust, and then by the end it's like I can't keep up.
Yeah,
So,
there's a few years like that.
That happens a lot recently, actually. Mm-hmm. And the first half is like so front loaded with like the popular like blockbuster stuff, and then the interesting stuff starts trickling in.
Mm-hmm.
But
I wonder how some of the 2013 stuff has aged for me. Like,
well, here we go. Before we wrap up, Wolf of Wall Street, Her, Prisoners, which I do not like.
Her, I feel like Her would be weird to rewatch now. I never liked Prisoners.
Yeah, I don't either. Snowpiercer, Gravity.
Great. I felt like I was the only guy fucking defending that movie for a time, but
yeah, well, that's because other people are insane. Enemy, Inside Llewyn Davis, Under the Skin, Before Midnight, Pacific Rim, The World's End. Mm-hmm. Blue is the Warmest Color has not aged well.
Yeah, that's one that the praise it got at the time and the now utter rejection it faces now is kind of fascinating.
Yeah, those two actresses have gone on to have great careers at least.
And they both talk shit about the director, right?
I think so. I think they're both still pals to this day, mm-hmm. or at least social media convinced me they are. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Only Lovers Left Alive.
Yeah,
that's fucking great. Only God Forgives, which I think we both enjoy.
Yeah,
as a psychopath film. Rush.
Oh yeah, the last good what's his face movie.
Yeah. The Bling Ring, Short Term 12.
Captain Phillips.
Oh fuck yeah. The Evil Dead remake, which I actually really like.
I don't like that movie.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know why. It's just kind of boring.
Oh, you're more of a Don't Breathe guy?
Kinda, yeah.
Oh, okay. I was joking. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Fast and Furious 6.
Yeah, that's an okay one.
Oh, fuck off.
It's really good until the last 10 minutes.
No, I think that is maybe the best one sometimes.
No, 5 is easily the best.
5 is greatest of all time. Tokyo
5 could
Drift
literally
and Fast
fight
6.
all the other Fast movies combined. If they all turned into a Voltron movie, Fast 5 would just destroy them.
Well, I have to
in one hit too. It wouldn't be it wouldn't even be an even fight.
Well, I have to also mention The Tale of Princess Kaguya.
Wind Rises.
Wind Rises, yeah, both of those are among the best animation ever.
And one of the greatest movies ever made by a fucking horrible piece of shit, Upstream Color, which is a movie I would fucking just go to bat for hardcore. But now we know that fucking Shane Carruth is a little fucking gremlin shit.
I know, it fucking sucks. So if you're interested in watching Upstream Color, I can recommend it by stealing it. Make sure that piece of shit doesn't get a fucking cent from you.
Yeah.
But it is really good, unfortunately.
It was on the Criterion Channel for a little bit.
Really? Support actress and now director Amy Seimetz, mm-hmm. who co-starred in that film because she has a very interesting career ahead of her, I believe.
Oh, Fruitvale Station was 2013.
Oh, yeah. Talk about a downer.
Yeah. All I remember was when I went to see that movie, they didn't even bother putting it up on the marquee. They just had like a sign someone wrote on and taped to the wall that said Fruitvale Station.
Oh my
11.
God.
And I was like, okay.
Wow.
Hey.
All right, Michael Clayton, thumbs up.
Michael Clayton, great movie.
Matt, where can people find you online talking more about Michael Clayton?
I mean, maybe Letterboxd, but on EmperorOTN1 at twitter.com.
And you can find me gushing about Michael Clayton in the future over at Twitter, at Diego Crespo, and check out the Waffle Press on Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, and Patreon, and get early access to some other stuff and some writing, yada, yada, yada. Michael Clayton's the fucking best. What the fuck are we talking about next time? Are we just doing the other one?
I don't remember which one is next.
Okay, now I gotta pull it up. I should have been prepared. That's my bad.
I know which one's the last one.
I've been taking too many notes. I have like a dozen other notes in front of it. Okay. Oh my God. we're talking about JFK.
Oh, yes. Oh, all right. I was
You're
a little
welcome.
worried with which one was next.
No. That's the one after that.
Because now I can really put in a lot of effort for JFK and then phone it in on the one after it.
We could talk about other... To go back to that fucking f-stop thing I mentioned. Yeah. Holy shit, we got to talk about that movie.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell people what movie that is. Even next episode, I'm going to say we have a surprise one because...
It's yeah.
Yeah. That's it. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. If you didn't like this episode, like and subscribe anyways because you might find something you do like. We have been professionally unprofessional.
Booyah.
You gotta saddle up here, Michael, and get things under control.
What if Arthur was onto something?
Do you know Michael Clayton? We have a situation.
Stay in the car, lock the door. What would they do if he went public?
Arthur, open the door.
What would they do? They're doing it.
Freeze!
Who called it in? Does that make sense to you, this happening
This
like
never
that?
happened.
Get out. Get out of the car now.
I'm not the guy that you kill. I'm the guy that you buy. Are you so blind you don't even see what I am? Do I look like I'm negotiating?